Hello, everyone. Welcome to this session, which is all about the BSc Computer program at Lausanne and our very special industry partnership stream with Shopify. It's called DevDegree. We have a few people here from the program to talk to you and tell you all about this amazing opportunity. So I see that we have future students who are joining us from all over the Toronto area, Richmond Hill, Vaughan, Mississauga, Markham, Scarborough, Barrie, Kingston, but also from all around the world, from India to Dubai to Trinidad. So thank you so much for staying up or waking up early or having a really long day after school and possibly work. We'll get started with some introductions. My name is Mudita Kundra. I am the Student Recruitment Officer at the Lausanne School of Engineering. My colleagues, Hart and Katrina, and myself are here to help you as you journey through this time to start your study, hopefully at Lausanne and Shopify. So welcome again. My task really is to help you get any of your questions answered around programs at Lausanne, admission requirements, the application process. I'm also happy to share about student life at Lausanne, but we have 3 students on this call who are much better positioned to do that. And I'll introduce them shortly, as well as our colleague from Shopify, Tucker Whelan, who will give you the information about the DevDegree program. So to get you started, hopefully you have had the chance to look at some other sessions and recordings that we have hosted over the last couple of months around our programs and application and admission requirements. Today, we are specifically going to focus on one of those programs. So you might have applied to more than one program at Lausanne. That can be engineering, computer science, computer security, digital media, or earth and atmospheric science. If you're still unsure and would like to make additions to your application, there's absolutely time to do that. And we can connect via email after this session. For today, I just want to take the time to focus on the DevDegree option. So DevDegree is an industry partnership stream that is available with our BSc Computer Science program only. When you apply, if you're interested in this option, you would need to submit 2 applications. So you would apply to the BSc Computer Science at Lausanne School of Engineering. You will also submit an application with Shopify to DevDegree. So we'll review your application to computer science, and Shopify reviews your application to DevDegree. The 2 reviews take place independently, and you have to be accepted to both to be able to pursue this option. For the BSc Computer Science, for anyone who is in an Ontario high school, you need your high school diploma, which also needs to include the prerequisites that you see in front of you, which is grade 12 English, advanced functions, and 1 other math course that can be either calculus or vectors or data management, plus either physics or chemistry. Your average across the math courses has to be a 75 with no math mark below a 65. Your overall average for admission in this program would need to be in the low to mid 80s. For those of you who are in an international curricula, you can consider equivalent courses and grades. So the grades will vary because different curricula work on different scales. Same goes for courses. We're aware that some international curricula only have 1 math course in your senior most academic level or your grade 12, and that's absolutely fine. Again, if you have any specific questions or concerns around that, I'll be happy to take those questions after the DevDegree presentation. So without any further wait, I would like to introduce you to our panelists, speakers from DevDegree. So we have Leah, who is a BSc Computer Science and DevDegree student. We have Eric, who is also a BSc Computer Science and Dev degree student. And we have Tucker Whelan, who is lead for marketing and admissions for Dev degree at Shopify. And I will pass over the virtual stage to Tucker.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having us tonight. I guess tonight for some of us, even other times around the clock for others. I am glad you all joined us, making sure I have my screen pulled up correctly. It looks good. I think we can see it here. So what we're going to cover here is I'm going to quick give you a walkthrough of the Dev degree program, what it is, and then what a little bit of what the student life looks like, and then also a little bit of the application process. And then we do want to make sure that we reserve the bulk of the time for Q&A, because with Leah and Eric here, they're actually Dev degree students. In fact, Leah did what you all are doing less than a year ago. And so she is very familiar with this process. So we want to make sure that we're giving you time to ask questions to the students, and then we can, of course, support along the way. So let me quick run through a little bit about the Dev degree program. And in so doing, also talk a little bit about Shopify. So here's the basic structure we're going to walk through. What is Dev degree? The student experience, the 2021 application process, which we're currently in the middle of right now, and then we'll move into Q&A. So some of you may or may not be familiar with Shopify. In the chat, can you let me know if you've ever heard of Shopify, or if you by any chance are actually a merchant and you actually use Shopify services? It's always fun to see people's experiences. Shopify is one of those companies that you probably have had some experience with, but you may not know it because it runs behind a lot of the infrastructure we use when we are using e-commerce sites, whether that's on a mom and pop store or all the way up to some big retailers like companies like Staples use Shopify to manage their back end. Shopify, it used to hit the numbers, I'm looking at these numbers, they're slightly outdated now. We're up to about 8,000 employees, and we have about 1 million people who use our platform around the world. And like I said, it's the back end of a lot of e-commerce engines. So you may not see it, but you may recognize the little shopping cart that shows up, the little handbag with the S on it from time to time. It does look like we have some folks in the chat who are familiar with Shopify. And Shopify is a Canadian-based company. One big thing to call out right now is that we used to have physical headquarters spaces around the world, but primarily based in Canada. But with the onset of the pandemic, we have transitioned to what we're calling digital by default, which means the company is now fully remote everywhere in the world. So no one will ever go back to being back in offices. We're going to be working from our home offices or co-working spaces, wherever you may be, which is actually how I got involved in Shopify, because I don't live in Canada. And so I've been able to benefit from Shopify being a fully remote company. And that is the experience that Eric can actually talk about later on, about moving from the in-person working setting to a fully remote setting. The Dev degree program in particular is what we like to call a 4-year work integrated learning program, which is just a really fancy way of saying you're going to pursue your computer science degree, and you're also going to be working as a developer at Shopify during that same time. So we really like this approach because it gives you a lot of hands-on experience. The things that you're learning in class in the morning, you can come out of class and then apply them with a development team, building real software that people are using all around the globe. And we really like that ability and all the support that gives students as they're learning and actually applying the things that they're learning in class. It also gives you a chance to connect with really excellent engineers. Shopify is a big company now. We have a lot of really smart engineers who work here. And being a dev degree student, you get to interface with them and learn from them and get to be mentored by some of them. And that's always a really exciting opportunity for growth. The program boils down to a couple pieces. So you'll be working towards your academic credit. You will also be earning work experience. So by the time the program's finished, it normally takes 4 years, You'll have your bachelor's in computer science degree, and you'll also have over 4,500 hours of work experience. And you also get a lot of practical tools. So you're going to learn what it feels like to actually be on a software development team and to do your agile sprints and making sure that you're using the tools and the developer environments that all the Shopify employees are using. So you'll get a lot of exposure to what it actually feels like to be an engineer in the working environment. We also are really proud of this fact. You don't have to worry about tuition. Shopify will pay for tuition, and we also will pay a salary on top of that. And so you'll get paid for the hours that you're working at Shopify, and we'll cover the cost of school just to make sure that there's no barriers blocking you from pursuing this education. Broken down into chunks, we take year one and we build Shopify specific developer skills. Shopify has languages that we use, like some of you may have heard of a language called Ruby. On our front end development, we use a language called React, and we have common practices that we put into place when we're using those technologies. So the first year will be set in learning those languages and those tools. You'll see them kind of listed there at the bottom. And then you go into years 2, 3, and 4. So you'll continue to pursue your schoolwork, but then you'll be placed on a new team within Shopify every 8 to 12 months, getting a lot of exposure. So you may be working on the back, get assigned to a team working on back-end projects. And then the next term, you might be assigned to a team that's working on data management, and you'll be learning about data structures. And then the next time around, you may be working on front-end web development. We have a team dedicated to dev degree students to help them find the placements that are right for them and to make sure you get to pursue the opportunities you're interested in once you are graduated from the program. We get one question a lot, which is, after the program is over, do I have to work at Shopify? And though we really love it, when you do choose to work at Shopify, there is not a single requirement requiring you to continue to work at Shopify. You are happy to enter the job market and go find employment somewhere else if you so choose. We do love it when you stay, but it's completely up to you. There's nothing that makes you bound to the program. You can see a big call here. This is a little bit of a repeat from the last slide, but you can see the 3 courses per term is what I want to call out here. Most of your electives are going to be happening during the summertime. 25 hours a week, you'll be working at Shopify, and there is 5 of those hours are going to be dedicated to self-improvement and making sure that you're focused on your goals and you have opportunities to feel like you have that proper work-life balance. We do have flexibility. So one of the other big questions we get is this program year-round? And the answer to that is yes. You will be working and studying year-round, but you do get full-time vacation like you would if you were any employee of Shopify. And you're encouraged to use those days off to be able to schedule and take that time you need for your own well-being. So this is a mix. Let me show you what a week could potentially look like. You can see here, this is a mix between working at Shopify in the morning some days and then going to university classes in the afternoon, and maybe whole days dedicated to work or university. The nice thing about the schedule is it's flexible. So it's up to you in how you want to structure your days and how you want to pursue your learning. So I know some students like to take classes later in the evening, and so they can work their work schedule in the teams that they're working on to make that work for them. So lots of flexibility here, but you will have alternating days where you are taking what you're learning in the classroom and then being able to apply it to real software and technology projects that are being worked on by the Shopify team. Here's another list of things to feel good about the program. So we are really dedicated to having small cohorts, meaning that there's a really excellent balance between the number of students taking a course and the instructor who's teaching it. We also have a very large support staff. We have groups of people from student experience and student success whose job it is to make sure that the student has everything they need to succeed and that they're helping them find balance and well-being in their days, in their routines. We also have instructors and mentors and technical mentors who are able to help you whenever you get stuck or you have a couple extra questions or need some help. We have all of those resources available. We also give you a computer to get your work done on. We have that flexible vacation policy in things like University Reading Week, our weeks that we observe and take off in the program as well. We also at Shopify, all employees get annual allowances to use towards things like wellness and growth. So if you want to take an additional class, or if you want to spend your allowance on yoga classes and things like that, that's also available throughout the program. One other key thing I want to touch on about the differentiation between DevDegree and a traditional co-op program, you can see listed out here on this slide. So traditional co-op programs tend to be slightly longer. DevDegree is a 4-year program, so you will complete it in 4 years. With the other big differences come in what the work placements look like. So your internships are all at Shopify, but within different teams. If you remember towards the top of the call, I mentioned that we have 8,000 employees. So there's a lot of folks that do a whole bunch of different things. So it's going to feel like a different internship, but it's all within one company. And it gives you a lot of opportunity to pursue certain areas that you like. We also will be involved in helping you find those placements. So unlike traditional co-ops where you're going to have to find a placement or a work opportunity for yourself, Shopify will help you with the DevDegree program. We have folks who spend all day making sure that they are connecting you with other developers or teams within Shopify to help you get the educational experience that you want. So for the 2021 cohort, if you're interested in pursuing the DevDegree program, if you want to see what it looks like, we can talk a little bit about that. Our applications are open right now. I'm going to start saying this date a whole bunch now, but February 14th is our deadline. So if you are interested in the DevDegree program, you will need to submit your application. It has 3 sections of it. You'll need to have all 3 sections submitted by February 14th at 11:59 in your local time in order to qualify for being entered into the applicant pool for the program. I'll give you the URL at the end, so don't worry about that. What that looks like is the final applications close at midnight on the 14th, or at essentially the first minute into the February 15th. And then all applicants enter a blind screening process, which means that we evaluate your application irregardless of your location or where you're from. We take your name out of it. We can't associate anything with it. We just evaluate the answers you provided in your questions in the application process. Then we take a group of students forward in the program that are moving towards a selection into a stage called the life story interview. And the life story interview gives us a chance to learn just a little bit more about you. It's a really fun interview to go through. You get to tell us stories about what you're interested in, what you're passionate about. And then from there, we'll move into the admissions and interview and technical interview stage. Now, technical interview is a little misleading here because you need no computer science experience for this program. Leah will talk about this in a little bit, but Leah came into the program without having very much technical understanding. She didn't have like a background in coding before she entered the program. We will help teach you all of that. So don't worry about that. You will talk though with a developer, and we'll ask you some critical thinking questions in some puzzles, and you'll work through how to solve a puzzle with a developer. And that's just looking at your problem solving ability. So there's nothing to worry about there. And then in early May, we aim to send out our offer letters and have our offers accepted, and the program officially begins in August. We often get questions about what do you look for in applicants? And it's always a little bit tricky because everyone's story is a little bit different. And we want to make sure that you have the chance to show us the things you're passionate about and show us the things that mean something to you. But there are a couple of commonalities we do look for. One being a growth mindset. The program is going to throw a lot at you. Juggling your work experience and then also your school is a lot, and you're going to be challenged to learn and to stretch yourself at pretty much every turn along the way. And so being able to be focused on that growth in learning new opportunities is going to be really important for you. That also ties a little bit in with resiliency and just being able to get back up. because we're all human. We're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to fail. And when we do, we're going to need to get back up and use the support networks around us to be able to continue to work towards our goals. The other big one is time management. Because you will be balancing schoolwork and work, it's going to be a lot. And so we look for applicants who have excellent time management skills and have shown the ability to juggle multiple priorities and use the tools and resources available to them to be able to succeed in what they're pursuing. I do want to make sure that we give a lot of time to Leah and Eric. So I'm going to be done now. If you are interested in the Dev Degree program, Mudita mentioned at the top of the call, you will have to apply twice. So you will apply to York, and you will also apply to the Dev Degree program. You can do that at devdegree.ca. I'll add that to the chat. And if your questions don't get answered about Dev Degree today, and you have other questions that you have and you want answers to, we have a group of folks who monitor our inbox. So you can always send a question to the info@devdegree.ca inbox, and we'll make sure that we get you a response as soon as we can. With that, I'm gonna stop screen sharing, and we can talk to the real stars of the show.
Thank you, Tucker, for sharing all of that information. Tucker and I are here to answer more of your application questions, but as he mentioned, we'll get to hear now from Leah and Eric. And I also wanted to introduce another student, Utkarsh, who will be helping me monitor the chat. Utkarsh, if you can get us started with a couple of questions, and to our students who are joining us in this call, please now feel free to enter any questions that you might have in the chat, and we'll do our best to get through as many of them as possible. All right, Utkarsh, take it away.
Hello, everyone. My name is Utkarsh. I'm a final year computer science student here at Lausanne. I came in computer engineering, and Dev Degree didn't exist back then, so it wasn't an option for me. But before I take some of these questions, there's the first question that everybody has, which is that, oh, I'm going to be working in a development team. Do I have to have coding/programming experience to be able to even get into the Dev Degree? So if Leah and Eric could shed some light on that, that's a good place to start.
For sure, I can take this one. As Tucker mentioned, so just basically a year ago, I was literally in your shoes. I applied for the program in February of last year. So I know a lot of what you guys are going through, and I probably had a lot of the same questions you did. And I had close to no programming experience. I had taken one kind of mini sort of intro course like on my own online, and that was it. So I had slim to no experience, and I was kind of scared coming in that there's going to be all these other people that knew what they were doing, and I didn't. But it's not like that at all. Neither the York side or the Shopify side assume any programming experience, and they all start you on the same level. They explain like more the flow chart, semantic like flow of programming, as well as the syntax for the languages. And it is always assumed that everybody coming in has no experience, and you do not have to worry about that at all. So if that's any kind of a barrier for you, just get rid of it now. That's not anything you have to consider. Shopify actually kind of likes it when people come from different backgrounds, because coming from a different background, you kind of bring different perspectives with you. And it's kind of cool to have different kinds of people from different walks of life, and not everybody coming in on the same pathway all the time.
Awesome. So I think Leah answered that really well. I did have a little more programming experience going into the Dev Degree. So I've taken a few of the high school courses offered, and I also took part of some competitions outside of school as well. But I found the onboarding process to be still just as informative. The instructors in the program really went out of their way to make sure that you're challenged in every day. Aside from that, as Leah mentioned, no programming experience is required. Even in my cohort, there were a few people that went in without any programming experience. And I also found that the ones that did have a little more experience were more than happy to help out whenever they could.
Thanks, Eric. The next couple of questions are for Tucker, because they are all administrative in nature. So the first one is, do I have to upload a resume for the Dev Degree application?
There is a spot on the application to do so. So I would say yes, but I wouldn't worry too much about that. resume section is a piece that we don't spend a whole lot of time on. We spend most of the time on what's called the computational thinking questions in your personal statements, which are the sections that you get emailed after you finish your first stage application. So don't overstress about your resume. If you have work experience, great, you can put it on there and show it. But yeah, I wouldn't get hung up on it. You just, whatever you have, show us what you got, and then we'll move on to the next two steps.
Next question, Tucker, is from Samir. Am I bound to Shopify during my entire bachelor's degree?
If you are completing the dev degree program, yes, you will be participating in Shopify for all 4 years. But you are of course free to leave the dev degree program if you wish.
The next question is acceptance rate. So how many people make it through various levels of screening process?
The truth is we don't have an actual number that make each stage, but our cohort for 2021 is going to be 30 students in total.
Are the interviews online this year?
Yeah, all of our meetings are online. In fact, I've never met a Shopify coworker in real life. I've only met them through Google Meets. So it will be all online.
The next question is for Leah. How difficult are the questions for the technical interview?
The technical interview. It sounds so scary when they word it that way. It's not scary at all. You don't have to stress about it, seriously. I will say both the life story interview and the technical interview, I was so nervous, like just counting down like the minutes till it started. And then within 5 minutes, I felt like I was talking to an old friend. Everybody at Shopify is so friendly and so nice. And the questions, they're not really like technical questions. I don't want to give anything away, but they're more about you and what kind of person you are. That's what Shopify is really interested in. So you just be honest, be genuine, really understand yourself and where you're coming from. They're not going to ask you to solve some crazy algorithm within 5 minutes or like the scary stuff you see at Google. It's nothing like that at all. Just, it's a really friendly, welcoming experience. And I would not stress about that at all if I was you.
Okay. The next question is about where can I find the list of courses I'll be taking at the university? And that brings to another question, which is very commonly asked. And I think, Eric, you've gone through the program long enough to be able to address this. How does the university Shopify balance works out for you? And how does the courses you're learning at the university tie to the work experience you're gaining at Shopify?
Yeah, for sure. So the work-school balance, I think, is very manageable. For the most part, I am taking 3 courses every semester while working my 25 hours at Shopify. And it's really rewarding seeing that the stuff that I learned in the classroom can be directly applied into my work at Shopify. I found this to be true even during the onboarding when we were taking courses, let's say in web development, and learning more about it from how Shopify uses web development and how they add on to other like testing tools and things that are available that we learned from the class.
Next question is about the admission requirements. So I think, Mudita, if you could talk a bit about admission requirements for Lausanne, and then Tucker about that degree.
Of course, yes. So the question that I see there in the chat, so we don't get to see, or we don't look at your application for dev degree at all. So we don't have access to that. We don't base the admissions to the computer science program on that. The admission to the BSc Computer Science program at Lausanne is based entirely on your previous academic study. So that can be high school, which I believe is most of our audience here. And if you're a college or university transfer student, we would look at those transcripts as well. Again, these admission requirements are on our website, and I'll share the link in the chat. But you're essentially looking at, two math courses if you're in Canada, usually 1 math course if you're outside of Canada, as most curricula only have 1 senior math course, plus a science course, which is either physics or chemistry. And you're looking at an average of low to mid 80s or equivalent for admission. So I'll share the admission link, and I'll pass it over to Tucker about to add more to that.
Really, the only requirement to meet the first stage is to submit all 3 sections of your application. We don't look at your grades. We don't ask you about your grades. we also, with like things like work experience, we understand we have students who come to the program with all different kinds of backgrounds. So some students have work experience, others have really just participated in clubs and things that they've done along their secondary education up to this point. So we encourage you to list all those things out, but we purely base our acceptance based on your answers to the computational questions and the personal statements that you fill out in the application process.
Thank you both for that. Next question is, I think Eric, oh wait, I'll address this to Leah instead, because you're very fresh with linear algebra and stuff. So the question is that, are we missing out on anything that you would normally learn in university if you were to go to the dev degree programs? If you could talk about some of the courses that you were taking and how dev degree training was happening at the same time.
Absolutely not. When you do the dev degree, you get the exact same degree as you would if you didn't do dev degree. The way that they make it work with the time is you take your courses over the summer, because normally, like, the default schedule is you take courses over the fall and winter and you have summers off. So instead, you take courses in the fall, winter, and summer, and then you use that extra time to work at Shopify instead. So all of the courses are exactly the same. All of the mandatory ones are the same. You have the same option of electives. So it's the exact same degree with the exact same courses. So for me, I had an intro to net-centric computing, a calculus, and discrete math. Those were my 3 courses I completed last term, and now I'm taking the next ones this term, but I didn't take any electives yet. So as was mentioned earlier in the presentation, the electives usually kind of fall in the summer, but after the first year, it is entirely up to you how you want to do your schedule. If you want to take electives with the core courses, you absolutely can. But at the end of the day, you take the exact same courses and you graduate with the exact same degree.
And Eric, just to stretch a bit more on that about work-life balance, because you're doing a lot and you don't have summers off as I do. So can you talk a bit about how does your work-life balance works out? And then also talk a bit about how Shopify is preparing you for a software career as you've been in the program long enough.
For sure. So in terms of work-life balance, as with any university degree, it just comes down to time management. And if you Shopify doesn't encourage that you go outside of your 25 hours a week. So there's never a point where you feel overwhelmed from both school and work at the same time. Personally, I'm taking an extra course alongside the 3 mandatory one, and I'm still finding that I have time to, let's say, go for a walk, go out with friends, work out on a daily basis. It's never really an overwhelming amount of work, and the people at the dev degree are always super supportive if, say, you need to step back and take a day for yourself as well.
Next question is for Tucker. So we are seeing a lot about applicants and how many people actually get in. And one question is about 30 students in total. So did you mean 30 for Lausanne or 30 for Carleton and Lausanne?
It's 30 total. The breakdown isn't necessarily always clear. That comes out on the backside. So 30 total students.
Also, a lot of students are asking about they're not able to move past the resume stage. So resume is a requirement.
Yeah, sorry if I wasn't clear about that. You do have to submit a resume, but it's not one of the focal points of our review process. So I wouldn't overstress or over-index on making your resume perfect. You can get something in there and then move on to the next 2 stages, which is where we spend most of the time when we review applicants.
Another question is by Hithanj. Can I add high school experience such as clubs, activities in the experience section in the dev degree?
Yeah, of course. We understand there's a lot that goes into making you a whole person, and we love to hear about all of it. So include whatever you feel makes you a whole person.
Just to build a little bit on top of that for Leah, can you talk a bit about your journey while you were preparing for Shopify's dev degree application? And were you the amazing student who does everything, or you were like the rest of us?
Oh, it's funny. My experience was a little interesting because I am actually a mature student. So if anyone has any questions about mature students, I can feel that as well. And I've been in the workforce for about 5 or 6 years, and I kind of wanted to go back to school. And I found out about this program a week before the deadline. So I had to put my application together and everything, basically the same time frame you guys would have if you started now. And I had all the same questions you did. I was overthinking everything. I probably spent like 2 days making my resume, which I just found out I didn't have to do, and answered all the questions and submitted everything. And it was just like this weird sense of like, this feels too good to be true. I don't know what's going to happen. And everything's been great so far. So it seems like a lot of information, and it seems, I know what it's like because I was in your situation, and you're probably feeling really anxious and overwhelmed. But just if you're doing the application, just seriously, just be honest, be genuine, be yourself, answer to the best of your ability. Don't overthink. Don't answer what you think people want to hear, because people can see through that. Just be yourself, and that's what got me here.
Thanks for that, Leah. Eric, this is a community question. Can you talk a bit about the mentorship that you've gone through so far, and how you've learned from experienced engineers and everybody at Shopify?
Awesome. So aside from all the benefits that Tucker mentioned, I think the most special thing about Shopify is for sure the people in it. And everybody I've met here so far has been equally enthusiastic, really passionate about the work. And it's just a great feeling going to work knowing that everybody is 100% in, just like you are. The mentorship that I got so far has been, I have one Life at Shopify mentor and one technical mentor. So the Life at Shopify mentor is someone that is with you throughout your whole dev degree experience, and they are more focused on the big picture and helping you grow as a person. Whereas a technical mentorship is an experienced engineer working specifically in your discipline who pair programs, which is a process that two programs work together to solve the same problem. They pair program with you on a regular basis to make sure that you pick up on the technical skills that they have learned through their experience working at Shopify as well.
Another question is for Tucker. Since Dev Degree is being covered by Shopify for the tuition, are there any expectations on the part of students to maintain the financial support? And somebody also asked that if they choose to drop the Dev Degree, do they have to pay all the money back?
No, they don't have to pay the money back. What was the first question? Sorry.
It's about any expectations off of students while they are working to maintain the financial support.
No. So the tuition is covered just being part of the program. And then the salary that you get paid is to compensate you for, of course, the work that you're doing during the week.
Leah, this is a question from another mature student applying, and it is about, did being a mature student make it harder to be in courses, like forgetting things you learned in high school?
Okay. So this is a bit of an interesting question for me because I actually had to retake the prerequisites before applying to York. So the math courses are a little fresher for me than they should have been because I retook them this summer before applying. I will say though, the computer classes, you don't need to know anything. They, like I said earlier, they assume you're coming in at zero knowledge. So even if you took computer science courses and you've forgotten, you'll be fine. The math courses, I would recommend freshening up a little bit because I was actually really grateful that I had to retake them because they do assume basically you're coming straight from high school and they kind of don't review in detail that sort of information. However, when I was starting, Lausanne actually has like an online, I forget what it was called, but there is an online little like academy, Lausanne Academy, I think it was called, where they basically offered the high school courses for you to go and brush up your skills. So if that is something you're concerned about, I would actually highly recommend that because I was really grateful to have that refresher going into it. Like I said, for the computer science courses, you don't need to worry, but for the math courses, I would brush up on your skills because it will help you.
Another question on admissions interview versus the technical interview, and I'll just broaden it a little bit in terms of the admissions process, because a lot of students get confused that do I have to submit all of those application components to York and their degree or vice versa. So Melita, if you can elaborate a bit on Lausanne's admission process per se. Lausanne's admission, oh yeah, sorry.
Sorry, can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah. So in terms of the admissions process for Lausanne, all the documents that we require as opposed to what the F degree needs.
Yeah, for sure. So for anyone who is in an Ontario high school right now, the process is very simple. You only need to submit an application through OUAC, and your high school will send us your grades through OUAC as well, and we review your application. That's done on an ongoing basis. For computer science, for anyone who is eagerly waiting to hear back, we actually don't make early offers of admission for computer science. Just given the admission requirements combined with the increase in demand, we usually wait till late February, early March is when we make offers. By this time, we receive your semester 1 or your first 2 quad semester grades this year. So that's when you can expect to hear back from us. For anyone else, this includes students outside of Ontario and Canada, transfer students, college or university, mature students, as well as international students. You're already aware that you need to submit those transcripts to us using MyFile, which is the online platform that you should all have access to be able to monitor your application. So simply upload a document there, and that gets added to your application. You can submit unofficial student transcripts or your predicted scores to begin with, and we will eventually need your official transcript if you are made an offer of admission. If there's ever an issue to upload your transcript or any other documents, you've received several emails from me by now or from my colleague Harsh. Simply reply to those emails and we'll get those documents added to your application file.
Mitha, just one more question about mature students taking courses. When's the last day to submit upgrade courses?
I know we're talking specifically in the context of computer science, but that can vary by program. Usually, I would say if I had to make a generalized statement, which can be very difficult because different programs can have different deadlines, and high school deadlines are different from what college or universities might be used to. But if I really had to make a generalized statement, I would say aim for beginning of May. So if we have your final grades by then it gives us enough time to review your application and make an offer by that, by early June. If you're taking courses that you might not complete by then, or courses you might not even be able to start by then, just email us, because I do understand it's better for you to get a personalized response in this situation rather than just getting a generalized one. But again, if you are sending everything to us by early May, you'd be in a good place. Now, keeping in mind that most high school students, domestic and international, don't have their final grades available by then. And that's why, I don't want to worry anyone by making a generalized statement. So please, email us, but there's absolutely a few months before you have to get us all the documents.
And Tucker, this is for you. So somebody's a 1 of 5 student and they have submitted and been admitted to your computer science program. Then will this information be sent to Shopify, or how does Shopify considers their high school grades?
Okay, so two ways to answer that question. The first piece, how's the information get transferred? Once we get down to the number of folks that were in the interview stage and we're working through the final group of applicants that we're going to provide offers for, that's the stage that we will do the checks with our partner universities and make sure that the student has acceptance into one of those universities. So that process gets handled a little bit further along in the journey, probably about end of March kind of period of time. For how does Shopify handle grades? We don't look at your grades at all. So we purely make our evaluation based on your CTQ questions or your computational questions and your personal statements. which are stages 2 and 3 of the application process. And then we go into the interview stage with a handful of students after that.
Can I just jump in quick there? I just wanted to say I actually received an offer from DevDegree before I was admitted into York, because again, I was really late with everything with the mature student and I had to redo my prerequisites. And I actually received the offer and I told them, I'm like, I'm not actually in York yet. And it was basically like, that's fine, don't worry. And then once that went through, I let them know and everything was good. So it's not like if you're not in York, that's it, your dev degree's void. There is overlap and leeway there.
And to build on to that, we, during this time, so we're absolutely in touch with our students, but, we will be in communication with Tucker throughout the summer. So, once he confirms with us, as Leah mentioned, if someone is, one course away from completing and you've shared your midterm results with us and you're a strong student, we'll, share that information with each other, because we don't want you to be at a disadvantage if it's just a matter of a few weeks. So we absolutely will be in touch about that. Utkarsh, I'll just take a couple of other questions that relate to this. So if you have submitted information as part of your York University application to computer science, we don't share any of that information with Shopify. So if that included you submitting a CV or a resume already, I would think that you can use that again for the dev degree application, but we don't share any student information with Shopify, except confirming that you applied and that you're eventually accepted into the program. Just also, there is a side question about about course description. So for college university transfer students, course description just means your course outline or syllabus. And the only required document we'll need from you is really your transcript. The course descriptions only come into play if you wish to have your transcript assessed for transfer credits. So if you're not worried about transfer credits, then don't worry about that. But otherwise, it's something your previous post-secondary institution will be able to provide you.
I know we're nearing the end of this, so any last urgent questions? Oh, there is one. So will the transcripts to your queue come from my school, or do I need to collect them from my school and submit them to you?
Yeah, again, if you are an Ontario high school student, your grades will reach us directly from your high school to or guidance office to OUAC to us. You don't need to do anything. If you are taking a course at a private school, or you are not, or if you've taken courses outside of the Ontario high school system, then you need to send us those documents. And I know because you're wrapping up, I just wanted to share a couple of more pieces of information and maybe one parting question for Eric and Leah. Yes, this meeting is being recorded, so we'll absolutely share that. Tucker, we actually have a question for you as well. There's a student asking if they will be informed if they're not admitted after every stage of the process.
Yeah, I was about to write into the chat. Yes, we take it really seriously at Shopify. We understand that applying to things is always difficult on the individual. You will be informed at every stage, whether you advance or not. You will get a confirmation from us at every stage of the application.
Thank you. So I'll just say a few parting notes, just some more information from Lausanne, and then I'll ask the final question. Is, as Eric and Leah and Utkarsh have mentioned, when you are same as when you're at Shopify, when you're at Lausanne, the courses that you're taking in your first year in computer science or engineering are really foundation introduction courses. Since computer science isn't a prerequisite when you come from high school, we are not asking you to have any previous knowledge. That doesn't mean that if you're curious, there aren't ways to do that. There are, of course, Khan Academy, Code Academy, So there are so many resources out there where you can start brushing up your skills. We ask our students and profs this question a lot. It's not always about which programming language you need to learn either. It's really about getting into the mindset of applying and using logic. So, so anyone who's kind of wondering how much math is involved, computer science is applied math. So yes, get into that mindset. It's writing code only is part of it. So it's, just getting your math skills, getting into the logic mindset is important. And, if you're part of that degree, you actually have double support. You have the community and support at Shopify, but you also have the community and support at Lausanne. We have academic advisors who will guide you through course selection each year. We have upper year students who run peer support. Various programs also run tutorials and academic support that you might need if you're really making a lot of transitions coming into university. So there's best of both worlds that's available to you. And feel free to reach out to us at any time. So I'll leave maybe with one last question to Eric and Leah is, you said you're a mature student, so you had to make the decision to leave work and go back to school. And Eric, for you had to make the big decision of selecting computer science while you were in high school. Any thoughts on someone who's trying to make this big decision and wondering what that transition will be like? Is this the right fit for me? What would you say to them?
I personally have never felt like I'm more in the right place than I do now. Computer science is something that is always changing. You're always learning. It's always challenging. If you like thinking, if you like problem solving, if you like collaborating, if you like solving puzzles and figuring stuff out and being appreciated for it and being able to have your work make a real impact on the world and those around you, take computer science, because I feel great being here.
I actually fell in love with programming, not when I was learning it, but when I was teaching it. So throughout high school, I actually worked as a programming instructor for Python and JavaScript to little kids. And it was the favorite part of my week when, they'd be really excited at these little tiny games that they've created and they'll be super proud and they show their parents. I think my favorite thing about programming is that it empowers everybody to take action in what they want to do.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Eric and Leah, for sharing that perspective and answering that rapid fire round. Utkarsh, thank you for moderating the session today. And Tucker, thank you so much for sharing about DevDegree. I feel like I learn something new every time I tune into the session. And to everyone here, again, thank you so much for choosing Lausanne. Thank you so much for choosing Shopify and for tuning into the session. Tucker has shared the DevDegree email in the chat, and of course, if you can put in our email address as well. If you have any questions that we missed during those sessions, or if you run into any technical issues, technical or otherwise, any issues during the process, please feel free to reach out to us. We understand that this is a very important journey and we're all here to support you. Right, all the best. We'll see you again soon, hopefully. Bye.